Oh yeah, speaking of that kind of internet leftist, though I don't think Jill Stein is a leftist. Jill Stein, Green Party presidential candidate for the 2024 election, speaking at today's Abandon Biden press conference in Chicago. Did we not already abandon Biden?
Ceasefire now!
Ceasefire now. I am so grateful to everyone here, to the wise words that we've heard from everyone. So grateful to all those who've come out in support. So grateful to the press who's come out to cover this event. I'm especially grateful to Abandon Biden, now Abandon Harris, for your incredible courage, for your vision, for your unstoppable determination here to stand up and lead the way forward.
Green Party is literally an anti-democratic party organization. That's their main priority. They have a bunch of Russia connection too. I know. We go over it every time. We're not pro-Green Party here. They exist only to pull votes from the Democrats, just like the RFK Jr. campaign for all the wacky turns that it's had. She's a completely unprincipled grifter. She doesn't give a shit about any outcome. She doesn't care about helping people in Gaza. She's only ever cared about prolonging a career where every 4 years she gets to like grift donations off people and, I don't know, book deals and so on.
Forward, not only to stop genocide, but also to hold our highest officers of the land, to hold the White House and its occupants accountable for genocide. Because without that, there is no democracy. So Abandon Biden, Abandon Harris, thank you so much for what you're doing, not just for the Arab American community, not just for the Palestinian community.
This is a very serious strategy for helping Palestinian people. Don't vote for the better of the two options, so the worse option, who calls people Palestinian as a slur, gets in office, you know? No effort whatsoever to, like, pull Trump voters away from Trump by talking about how he's America last, or how, like, they're not fulfilling their sort of, like, worker interests, or how they're voting against their own interests or whatever. None of that. 100% always anti-Democrat aligned, constantly. No attempt at actually carving out some kind of disciplined, you know, sect of the independent crowd.
But for all Americans, you are helping us assert our democracy again, our democracy that is on life support.
Can the same argument be made for the uncommitted voters effort? No, because that organization has a very clear and specific goal: selective withholding of votes on the condition that they do X. It's very standard political stuff, you know? Not grifty third-party campaigns that have no objective other than to funnel votes away from the Democratic Party.
I want to focus my remarks on the myth, which is really a propaganda, that you're throwing your vote away by voting against genocide, mainly because you're voting for an underdog. So there is this propaganda.
If anyone tries to sell you on this, the idea of, like, you're not actually throwing your vote away, they're lying to you and they're a grifter, and you should not listen to them. You can at least be honest and say you are throwing your vote away out of protest. It's stupid, but at least that's interest.
This extortion of your vote, that it would be a waste of your vote to vote against genocide. And I want to speak to that. First of all, genocide is the moral imperative of our time.
Genocide is the moral imperative of our time? I feel like she's misspoken already like 7 times.
200,000 people who have been slaughtered on our phone screens, on our computer screens, 2 million being bombed, denied food, water, shelter, sanitation, medical care, hospitals, schools, universities destroyed, journalists murdered. Over 1,000 children have had leg amputations.
What does this camera work? Yeah, do they not have the money for a tripod for their event?
Without anesthesia. That is a symbol of the brutality and the cruelty of this genocide. If you vote for genocide, you are consenting to it and you are enabling it. Don't let them talk you into it. Don't let them talk you out of your humanity.
The idea that if you vote for a candidate, you consent to everything they do is not only stupid on the face of it, it's also, like, I don't even know if I can say it's reaction. It's like, it's not even like a valid political theory. It's, no one believes this. No, like that's not even in the wheelhouse. No one believes that. It's a completely unserious position. No one believes that.
That, above all, is why we must hold our elected officials accountable and vote to end genocide. Otherwise, you are part of that genocide.
Also, if she was actually running for president rather than just being a Russia-paid wedge to funnel votes away from the Democrats, shouldn't she be, I don't know, campaigning? Like, shouldn't her goal be to campaign to be president? What presidential candidate holds rallies about abandoning the other, like one of the other two? Like, what are you talking about? Are you even running? You know?
Voting against genocide is a practical imperative because 500,000 lives are on the line right now, according to the United Nations, from starvation, who may die over the course of the next month. And now there is polio and cholera thrown into the mix. Every vote against genocide is a shot across the bow of the empire, announcing that its days are numbered.
Jesus Christ, grift, oh my God, grift language. Well, we're only going over this so everyone can appreciate and, like, learn to identify stuff like this, okay? This stupid, flowery, ineffective prose, throw away your vote to increase the likelihood that Trump wins and then does worse things than what have happened under Biden. You know, a shot across the bow to remind the empire, come on.
And that the opposition is getting organized and we will not be stopped. That builds the pressure for a ceasefire right now and a weapons embargo right now and brings the day closer when we will achieve them. So do not think for a minute that your vote against genocide is just a theoretical vote.
Pretty riskless
or just
too,
a vote
huh? Like,
which
not
is
very good at
hypothetical.
actually expressing
this
the
vote
ideas.
has power, and it has power right now. As Frederick Douglass said, power concedes nothing without a demand. Your vote is that demand. Our vote is our only power in a democracy that is bought and paid for by billionaires. If we do not use that power to vote for what we want, then we are giving up that power. That, again...
I just Googled Jill Stein on Trump because she, again, like, she only exists to be a wedge to the Democrats. I genuinely can't see... I know she's been critical of Trump before. She's not that obvious with her bias. I can't... Like, she doesn't talk about him. I'm getting a Newsweek exclusive from last year. Jill Stein on Trump, Israel, and why Democrats are scared. Oh. Why God, she's bored. Yeah, Howie Hawkins is more interesting, I think. I think he's less of a grifter, though. Maybe? I just realized I don't care at all. Exclusive interview for Newsweek.
Is why we must vote against genocide. Voting for the lesser evil disappears your opposition to genocide. In fact, there is no lesser evil. We have two greater evils, one conducting genocide.
That's not how comparisons work, actually. That's not how those words work, but nice try.
Genocide now, the other saying to finish the job.
That's right. That's right.
There is no lesser evil. We say forget the lesser evil, fight for the greater good, like our lives depend on it, because our lives do depend on it. What goes down in Gaza goes down for all of us. In Gaza, we are looking at the end of human rights.
Did you talk about RFK maybe dropping out at all? Yep, like 5 minutes ago.
The end of international...
The beginning of stream is always the worst for this because people pour in really quickly. So I cover something on minute 1, and by minute 2, people are like, hey, have you covered this yet? It's like, why do I talk about anything in minute 1, you know? I should, like, do this. I should just do this for the first 30 minutes, and then finally most people are in, and I can, you know, talk about the other shit.
The law, the normalization of the torture and murder of children on an industrial scale. If you're okay with that, go ahead and vote for it. If you're not okay with it, we can stop it because the majority...
Dude, her delivery is so bad, man.
Go ahead and vote for it. If you're not okay with it, We can stop it.
We can stop it.
Because the majority of the American people has gone on record
by getting Trump in. Again, if she actually believed in making a third-party project work, why is she only trying to pull away Democrat voters? Literally no attempt at all. I promise you, nobody in the Green Party is making any active effort for outreach to Republicans at all. It's just a vote siphoning effort. There's no real attempt here. Because Kremlin funds. I mean, she is paid to do this, I'm sure.
Over and over again. We oppose this genocide. If democracy prevails, we will stop this genocide in this election, if not before this election. Because simply by building our...
If she wanted to make Green Party real, she'd be endorsing Dems that are pro-ranked choice voting. Yep, they'd talk about it more often. Also, they would run in the midterms, and they would run in more local elections, and they would try to build an actual ground game. As an alternative solution to, like, hey, are you unhappy with your Republican or Democrat local rep? Like, hey, maybe we can get, like, state senators and state congressmen and so on and so forth, you know? But they don't do any of that because that would be the kind of thing you do if you were a real political party, as opposed to, again, a paid effort to pull votes away from the Democratic presidential candidate every 4 years.
Movements, by running our campaigns, by reaching out to voters, by tabling, by phone banking, by door knocking, by flyering, by showing up.
Boss, you know how convincing people works, right? Veronica Tash, respectfully, like, I'm not going to respond to what you say because you drop in 4 times a stream to say something retarded, and for the most part, I let it go because, like, it's edge case enough that I don't care to waste time in it. But, like, if you... There's, like, 18 presumptions wrong. Like, your frame of your perspective, your frame of analysis on this, like, I know your name because I associate it with the stupid shit you say. Like... You need to reflect on, like, I don't know if it's like an age that, like, maybe you're like 19 and in college and it's for you, this is like all an aesthetic thing, like it's a virtue signal, or you haven't thought out the implications of what it would look like if you try to pull people to vote for you in a way that would objectively benefit the worst of 2 options and increase the likelihood of Trump, a person who uses Palestinian as a slur to attack political opponents, a person who is currently undermining a ceasefire deal specifically because he wants the war to continue indefinitely, like what it would look like to do that, or what the implications might be for a person exclusively targeting the voters of Kamala Harris's campaign but not Donald Trump's campaign, and what it might suggest about her bias and what her intentions are. Like, you have to reflect on those a little bit yourself. I can't do all the work for you, you know? You have to, like, we're both... There's like a mutual give and take here. We both have to work together to create like a bridge. We have to build the perspectives and thoughts, you know? We have to work together on this. You can't just let me do all the work. Please.
Remember, they want us to think that we are few and far between. We are not. The majority of the American people are struggling. 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Half of Americans are barely managing to pay their rent from month to month. 100 million Americans are locked into medical debt, 44 into student debt. This is who...
Get a refund for your uni. Veronica Dash said, I'm 42 getting a PhD in political science. There's nothing wrong with that, but it means you're a damn egghead. Okay, you've got egghead syndrome, all right? You gotta cut your teeth on the mean streets of political reality for a little bit, okay? I know what it's like in academia. I say as a person with a bachelor's degree, but I'm not joking. I'm saying this as a person with a bachelor's degree. I know what it's like in college. You know, you're in the dorms with the other people who are like, yeah, man, have you like read this Gramsci quote? Like, you see how it applies to this situation? Talking to people about shit that sounds flowery and goes really far in the head but not very far in the street. I'm telling you, you know, you have to temper, you got to keep it real, you know how it is. I'm rambling.
Our agenda addresses, because the same forces that are conducting genocide in Gaza are robbing us blind here at home, consuming half of our congressional budget so that we cannot afford the health care, the housing, the education, dealing with the climate crisis, which we have all the resources in the world to deal with if they were not being exhausted by these endless wars and the endless war machine of which that genocide in Gaza is.
What's with her inflection? She sounds like somebody asked a chat GPT, she like put forward a prompt like, can you summarize, I don't know, r/late stage capitalism, or maybe like the most annoying part of Twitter? Could you like deliver a thesis which is just a bunch of mashed together, you know?
Is an expression. So they want us to think that we are small and powerless, that resistance is futile. That is a propaganda campaign. That is a psyop in order.
That's a psyop? The idea that you can't win, you literally don't have ballot access in all the states. That's a psyop? Do you know what that word means? No, probably not, because this is a ChatGPT program. It's projection. She is literally a psyop. I mean that literally. Jill Stein and the Green Party under her are in operation with a specific, like, psychological and political purpose designed to confuse and obfuscate to the benefit of the right wing in this country. That is an actual psyop. It's funded, you know? It's a whole thing. The idea that she can't win ain't a psyop. That's just reality. Any politician that uses the term psyop is actually a psychopath. They would have to be really cool to pull it off. If Bernie Sanders ever used the term psyop, then I'm falling in line, okay? But, like, they'd have to be really cool to pull it off. That might be the line.
To disarm us. We do have majority power. Remember, 1 out of every 3 eligible voters chose...
Back in 2016, her campaign emphasized her claimed support for Medicare for All to scoop up Bernie supporters, because literally all she cares about is damaging the Democrats. Yeah, literally, yeah. It's not just this campaign. You can literally go back to her entire career. It has always been, how do I, every 4 years, siphon votes from the Democrats, you know? Every single time, man.
Not to vote in 2020. 1 out of every 3. And then add to that the numbers who oppose genocide, the numbers who are stuck in student debt. These are...
You're living long enough to become a conservative? That's true. It's very conservative of me to not want, like, unironic Kremlin-funded psyops to increase the likelihood of Donald Trump winning.